The bass is an important part of many different ensembles in many different genres, so much so we've seen it several times already in our discussion of the string family.
Yeah, such a coaxing girl, sure I shook myself for to see I was really there. From Bantry Bay up to Derek Kay, and we're going to Dublin town.
One of the best and most versatile bassists is Edgar Meyer.
I'm being told that I'm going to answer some questions about the double bass. What is a double bass used for? I guess most commonly it's used for playing the lowest note or the lowest voice in an ensemble. What are the lowest and highest notes the double bass can play? Right now, the way I have this bass set up and tuned, my lowest note is a C. And that's a C that's a little bit, it's still on the piano. Piano has 3 notes lower than that. But it's, and then, you know, string instruments don't have a highest note. You can just keep going as high as you want. Here's a little bit of an idea.
Here's Edgar Meyer playing one of his own compositions.
How do you play the double bass? The 2 most common ways to play it are to pluck it and to bow it. How is a double bass different to a cello? The cello is a little smaller. I think it's about half the size of a double bass. It's probably more acoustically ideal. It has a wider range of color. Like the low string is quite deep and the top string is quite penetrating. And the bass has a slight mustiness up and down. It's just the nature of the beast a little bit. Why play the double bass? I think, just first and foremost would be that you like the sound of it. And then past that, the double bass has a natural involvement in a wide range of music. You can play most types of music, but most Western music has some kind of a bass instrument. And, if you're doing double bass and maybe bass guitar, you can play with anybody. You can play in any band, you can play in the orchestra, you can play in the jazz ensemble, you'll have friends.
This musician is plucking his bass, but also using his bass as a percussion instrument to accompany himself.
How does a double bass fit in a car? With a little bit of creativity, I've been able to get it in kind of almost everything.
I hope you enjoyed this quick tour of the world of basses. We've been seeing basses for a while, as they are a critical part of many different ensembles. We're going to see more from the world of bass when we cover plucked instruments and we see the electric bass. But before we go, let's dispel the myth that the bass is the lowest instrument. I have for you an instrument even lower than the bass. I give you the octobass.
My name is Colin. I'm a curator at MIM, and this is the octobass. The octobass was invented in 1850 by the famous French violin maker Jean-Baptiste Vuillaume. The intent was to create an instrument that would add a low-end rumble to any large orchestra. Vuillaume originally made 3 of these instruments, 2 of which still exist. There also exist 2 playable replicas, of which MIM has 1. So in order to play an instrument this size, the player just simply cannot use the normal technique, so it has to be built specially. The player stands on a platform and then pulls on levers, which are connected to a mechanism that pulls down the string on a fret to change the pitch of the string. Needless to say, nothing happens quickly on this instrument. The instrument is tuned 2 octaves below a cello. The lowest C note on it is at 16 hertz, which means it is actually below the frequency that humans can actually hear. It's wonderful for demonstrating how sound waves work and how a string vibrates. These strings are so large and so massive that the vibrations are slow enough for us to actually see them, which is a really unusual opportunity and is a great visual for people so they can understand what's happening when we drag the bow across the strings.